Dear Peter, dear colleagues, dear friends, dear partners, ladies and gentlemen, I'm extremely pleased to have an opportunity to welcome everyone to this Hungary-Uzbekistan Business Forum in one of the most beautiful cities of the Europe, in Budapest. Peter was mentioning that, or even praising the fact that we arrived here yesterday despite the challenges caused by the team, but I have to say that the example of how to do it was actually created by Peter himself, because last year Peter visited Uzbekistan twice, and the second one was actually in July, when it was the toughest or most challenging time in terms of the fight which we all started earlier against this pandemic. So I have to say that despite all the challenges, despite all the difficulties, we've been able to develop our relations. And I would say, I don't want to repeat the figures which my dearest friend and brother Peter Sardor mentioned, but I think figures tell us a lot. But at the same time, I have to assure you that the level of political engagement, the level of mutual understanding, the level of mutual commitment to elevate our relations to a new level is really unprecedented. And we don't have that kind of relations with any other country in the Europe. That's why I want to express our willingness and our desire now, when I say our, I mean governments, to make sure that the business communities of two countries also follow us, because we actually developed a very simple and quick way of communicating and solving any issues. I don't say problems because we don't have any problems, but there might be some issues which we have to approach, which we have to actually address, and it's very easy. It's either me or Peter, we just text each other, we just call each other. So I really want our business representatives to have the same approach and to deal and to engage with each other in the same way. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank, again, to express my sincere, not my, our Uzbek delegation's sincere gratitude to my dearest friend Peter Sardor and his team and his colleagues, and of course to all those who participated in the organization of this particular event and in the organization of our successful visit to Hungary. I'd like to perhaps mention that all of us, we are like-minded people, and yesterday I had an honor and a pleasure to be able to be received by His Excellency Prime Minister Viktor Orban, and I was just sharing my views and feedback with Peter that I'm still under the impression, and now I understand why we managed to reach these figures, increase in trade turnover, all other issues which we managed to resolve last year, and all other achievements, because we have the same approach, we have the same strong signals and requirements from the political leadership of two countries, and I'm sure that this should become a basis for further development of our mutual economic partnership. I'm sure that the interaction we have, including this one now today, of course will provide a solid foundation for future decades-long partnership and cooperation, and of course collaborative and creative work. We in Uzbekistan really want year 2021 to become a historic year when it comes to our relations, to our cooperation. But what we want to do, what I mean by this, as Peter already mentioned, as I confirmed, we enjoy the highest possible point of understanding and cooperation in political sphere. But we now need to feel that this very important and unprecedented, as I said before, cooperation in political sphere with particular, concrete economic content, which means that we really need you, representatives of business communities of two countries, to engage, to sit around one table, and then to look into the possibilities which are now open for both parties in both countries. You know that last year was a challenging one, but this year we believe will be even more challenging, because we are all approaching post-COVID era. Post-COVID era means stronger competition in foreign markets, stronger competition for foreign investments, stronger competition basically when it comes to economic development. And we believe that by joining our forces, Hungary in the Central and Eastern Europe, Uzbekistan in Central Asia, we can actually complement each other in a way which would allow us to be stronger, to be more successful. Because from the very beginning of the pandemic last year, in Uzbekistan, we realized that we don't have to wait until pandemic finishes, but we have to learn how to live and work in these challenging circumstances. At the same time, we have a very famous slogan of the President of Uzbekistan, which is, we should go out of the pandemic being stronger and more efficient, which means that we really hope that this slogan will actually reflect what we will be achieving with you, dear Hungarian partners and friends. Peter mentioned a number of issues, and it's true that during pandemic our ties became closer. And I think this really reflects how we feel deep inside us. And this really should now reflect how we will be cooperating this year. I don't want to stop and tell you a lot of very important, of course, things about what's happening in Uzbekistan now. I'm sure that many people, if not everybody here in the hall, know that 4 years ago we started a very risky, but at the same time very interesting for us journey, which is aimed at modernizing the economy of Uzbekistan, reforming all spheres of our life, starting from political and finishing with the social life in our country. And of course we achieved a lot so far, but we believe that there is much to be done yet. And we really appreciate the help and assistance, moral and physical support which we get from Hungary in this very important journey which we started 4 years ago. I'm sure that you know about the results of last year. Peter was mentioning the decline in the GDP of major economies in the world, the decline in foreign direct investments attraction, decline in the volumes of the international trade. In this regard, we in Uzbekistan managed to become one of very few countries among Eastern Europe, CIS and Central Asia, which still managed to finish last year with a positive result in terms of the GDP growth. And moreover, it was actually, it even surprised me, a person who is in charge of investments in the government of Uzbekistan. The inflow of foreign direct investments last year was bigger than the year before, which I think actually characterizes the trust of the wider international business community to the reforms which we started and are implementing in Uzbekistan. I think it's really important for us today, for business representatives of two countries, to sit and analyze all the possibilities, because there are quite a lot of them. Our economies can complement each other. We can join our forces in a number of sectors of both Uzbek and Hungarian economies. We can be very successful if we want to explore market of the European Union for Uzbek producers, or market of Central Asia, CIS, South Asia for the producers from Hungary. And we spent quite a lot yesterday discussing all these possibilities with a number of partners from both governmental and business side. And I will just briefly perhaps outline all the opportunities or major opportunities which we see, or at least the opportunities which Hungarian business representatives can find in Uzbekistan. Well, firstly, of course, it's the agricultural sector. It's horticulture and livestock farming. We now intend to make these sectors of the economy the main drivers of the cooperation between Uzbekistan and Hungary. And the main goal is now to increase the agricultural production by 2.5 times within the next 5 years. And we have a wide-scale program of the greenhouses in Uzbekistan, and we believe that this will allow us to increase the total area which is covered by the greenhouses almost tenfold within next 9 years. And of course we invite Hungarian partners to participate in these programs, and of course in a number of joint projects to introduce drip irrigation, to introduce other water saving technologies. We also want to engage deeply with our Hungarian friends when it comes to implementation of joint projects in textile, silk, leather industries, because all of them, the annual growth in the production of these sectors in Uzbekistan is now, in average, accounts for 18%. And annual growth of exports of these kind of goods is at least 10% every year now in Uzbekistan. So I think that there is a huge potential here. Third very important area is energy sector, because we are planning to increase the generation of electricity by 1.5 times within the next 5 years, which means that we will do it at least up to 80 billion kilowatt hours, including of course by bringing the share of renewable energy sources for at least 20% in total. And we of course invite Hungarian partners to explore the opportunities in this area. And of course the pharma sector, which is very important in Uzbekistan. We, in the next 5 years, we face a task of increasing the share of domestically produced medicines from 45% now to 70% at least. And of course, we now have 8 pharmaceutical free zones where we are from paying any taxes or duties. And we are now creating a specialized center called Tashkent Pharma Park Cluster. And we, of course, offer our colleagues from Hungary to use the possibilities and opportunities there. We have a number of other very important sectors of economy where we see the possibility for a synergy between Uzbek and Hungarian businessmen. I think it's digitalization, it's a number of manufacturing sectors of the economy, it's education. So I'm sure that we will be able to find those very important ways of cooperation. Finishing my address, I'd like just to mention one more very important fact. Last night, after I had very busy but pleasant in terms of my feelings, discussions with a number of colleagues from Hungarian side, starting with His Excellency the Prime Minister, I had a phone call from President of Uzbekistan in the night. And he asked me about how it is going. And I told him all my feelings, all my the results of my discussions, and my proposals, of course, on how we should go on and continue with our cooperation with Hungary. And he was very patient, to be honest, because I was reporting for almost 40 minutes. And then at the end he said, when you will be addressing business communities of 2 countries tomorrow morning? And I told him that, Mr. President, tomorrow we will be participating in the opening ceremony of the business forum. Tell our Hungarian friends, partners, especially those who represent business community of that brotherly country, that I, as the President of Uzbekistan, am ready to provide exceptional, unprecedented conditions, incentives and support to Hungarian business if they decide to do anything with Uzbekistan, with Uzbek counterparties, whether it's in Uzbekistan or in Hungary. And I'm sure that we shouldn't only look into opportunities in Uzbekistan. We also should look into opportunities in Hungary for Uzbek entrepreneurs and businessmen. And by delivering this message of His Excellency the President, I want to actually conclude my speech today, and I can only tell you that we in Uzbekistan are confident now. First, reforms and transformations in Uzbekistan became irreversible. Second, my president confirmed yesterday that we are ready to offer exceptional conditions for our Hungarian partners whenever and wherever they want to do with Uzbekistan or Uzbek partners. And third, I'm personally, as the person in the government in charge of investments, business climate, trade and all other related issues, will be in charge and responsible for your success whenever it comes to any kind of interaction in any sector or any sphere of our life. I know that there is a Hungarian saying, I'm not sure whether I will be spelling correctly or not, but I have here, it says, "Aki mer, az nie," which means the brave one wins. Is it? Of today's business forum, pleasant business communication, result orientation, this is what we all need and want, and of course, a bit of success, because this is very important. Thank you very much.